Good afternoon, everybody. On behalf of the North Reading Board of Selectmen, the North Reading School Committee, and North Reading Superintendent of Schools John Bernard, I'd like to welcome everyone to North Reading Middle High School. A special welcome to Governor Charlie Baker, Commissioner Carol Gladstone, and Vice President Reed Blute of Pulte Homes in New England. Again, a warm welcome for them. We're here today for an important announcement regarding water infrastructure. As many of you know, North Reading has been evaluating long-term potable water solutions for the past 5 years. This effort is aimed at ending uncertainty in our water supply, which has seen major changes from one generation to the next. Whether it's the addition of new wells, the contamination of existing wells, or the need to purchase water from out of town, for 60 years we've had to adapt our water supply to meet the needs of the community. Our current water system relies on wells in the Ipswich River watershed, which draw an average of 1 million gallons of water per day. That amount is supplemented by water purchased from the town of Andover, presently in the amount of just over 1.5 million gallons average per day. Our goal in this evaluation of long-term solutions is to identify a solution that will provide the town the certainty of a reliable, quality water supply for generations to come. We are fortunate that we have two options: purchasing additional water from Andover or pursuing an interconnection with the MWRA through the town of Reading. Our water system was already taxed when the opportunity to partner with the state to redevelop the former J.T. Berry property came our way. Without a permanent water solution, the town could have been in a position of potentially having to downsize or decline the pending and future redevelopment at the J.T. Berry property. Now, we haven't made a final determination regarding what our permanent solution will be as of yet. One thing is clear: there is a significant water infrastructure construction project on the horizon. That's a lot of words jumbled up together, right? These improvements are necessary to support development in the town, including build-out of the former Berry property. Our current working estimates indicate that North Reading ratepayers would be responsible for up to $10 million in improvements to construct a permanent water supply solution. Fortunately, as the town of North Reading looks to its future for a stable water supply and for pending and future economic development, its taxpayers and its ratepayers aren't alone. We had understanding, resources, and solutions made available to us from leadership on Beacon Hill. Beacon Hill stepped up when North Reading needed it. Here for today's announcement is a champion for good local government at work. His administration has consistently stepped up to assist cities and towns over the past 3.5 years, be it to modernize state law regulating municipal government, to offer funding to pursue solutions to complex municipal problems, or to offer expertise and advice to local officials. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Governor Charlie Baker.
Thanks. I really appreciate that, and I can't wait to tell my friend and colleague Brad Jones that he wasn't here to hear any of it, and therefore he gets no credit for any of the work that he might have done on this. I'm really thrilled to be here today for a couple of reasons. The first is, I was saying on my way in, I actually was the Secretary of Health and Human Services when the J.T. Berry facility was open, and I remember coming up and visiting it back in the 1990s, and I remember when the state made the decision to phase it down along with a number of the other facilities. And one of the real challenges the state's faced over the course of the past 20 years or so is how to come up with creative solutions for how to repurpose those facilities. And in some cases, there's an opportunity that sort of just everybody figures out works and they pursue it right away. But more often than not, they're big pieces of property. In many cases, they had old infrastructure on them. And coming up with a solution that would work for the community and work for the Commonwealth was a difficult and challenging task. And I think one of the things that's particularly important about today's announcement is, in some respects, it's a winner for virtually all of the stakeholders who are involved in this process. The town and the Commonwealth get what I would describe as a good deal on the property. We are then able to turn around and reinvest a piece of that good deal through the MassWorks program into some of the utility infrastructure that helps the town deal with its water issues. The town gets funding that it can take and turn around and incorporate in a way that makes sense for the town to deal with some of your infrastructure issues. And it's a great example of an initiative that we started shortly after we took office called Open for Business, which was, the state is one of the largest landowners in Massachusetts. And a lot of the property we own is not really doing very much. And I used to joke with the folks that I work with, and I would say, I know we call these properties assets, but most of the time when people think about an asset, it's like doing something. And just because it belongs to you and just because it's property doesn't make it an asset necessarily. I mean, a lot of the assets that we have, no one else would ever look at and call, quote unquote, an asset. They would just call it a piece of land with a couple of burned out cars and a lot of tall grass and a few beer cans on it. And this is a great example of working with local folks and with others to find a collaborative solution that actually puts a property to work and makes it an asset for the community, an asset for the Commonwealth, and an asset that generates other opportunities for folks here as well. And our $3.5 million, leveraged with $7.5 million from the community, combined with the sale of the property to a developer who has a project that people are interested in seeing get done, is just a tremendous way to take what I think everybody would agree has been a long time in coming to create a solution for and a future for that particular site. So given the number of people that are involved in this, I first of all want to say thank you to everybody for finding a way to get to yes on a very complicated and multifactorial process that involved a lot of different players over a long period of time. And the second thing I just want to say is we don't get to do these sorts of things if we can't find local partners who are willing to work collaboratively with us to get it done. And while we've had quite a bit of success in moving literally hundreds of state properties into some form of development, usually in conjunction with our colleagues in local government, it's always gratifying for us to find communities that want to work together to figure out some way to put to work property that either belongs to us or belongs to them or belongs to both of us, but really isn't accomplishing very much or doing anything for the Commonwealth or for the communities in which they're located. And in this particular case, our MassWorks grant, our property, your property, and the development that's associated with all this is a tremendous opportunity for everybody to come out a winner. And I'm very pleased to be able to be here today and celebrate sort of the culmination of a ton of work by a lot of people over a long period of time. Congratulations.
Governor, thank you so much for your commitment to cities and towns, to the health of the state economy, and to North Reading. I know we'll be taking a photograph of the award presentation in a few moments, but let me just get it on the record now. We accept. The redevelopment at the former J.T. Berry property was a partnership, as the governor indicated, between the town and the state's Division of Capital Asset Management and Maintenance, known as DCAM. The model, known as a sale partnership, is simple. Give the town the ability to control its own destiny in developing vacant state land, provide incentives for the town to implement the state's goals where they are appropriate, and allow the town to share in the proceeds from the sale of the state-owned land. We had a fantastic partner in DCAM, and I'm pleased to introduce Commissioner Carol Gladstone here on behalf of DCAM to deliver a few remarks. Commissioner?
Mike, thank you very, very much. It's a real pleasure for me to be here today. So thank you all for inviting us, and it's especially exciting and rewarding for me for a very specific reason. I'll tell you why. As the governor said, about 25 years ago, he was Secretary of Human Services when we were closing all these starting to close all these state institutions. There's about 10 million square feet over time that we consolidated. I was the lowly Director of Real Estate for DCPO at that point, and with the problem of what do we do with all these assets? And it's incredibly exciting to see 25 years later what we've accomplished together and what we've learned. You know, as Michael said, we started early on in some of these disposition processes where the state was managing it, and there was more conflict than I think there needed to be with the community. And with the sales partnership, I think we really have found a better way, and we could not have found a better partner than we have here in North Reading. You guys have been fantastic, so I want to give you a round of applause. It didn't take us 10 years, and we've got a wonderful outcome with all the statistics that you guys have had, including 450 new homeownership units, which at least I'm getting ready to look for over 55 housing. I don't know, maybe the governor is as well, but lets people stay in the community, lets you grow new families in this community. It brings new residents, it brings new shoppers. It's a wonderful, wonderful use for this site. As well as the money, which is fantastic. So I also want to just bring you all a thank you from somebody that you all know who was our project manager on this project for a number of years, Mary Beth Clancy, who I think people know. And so one good thing about you all closing in December was that she could then retire, and which she has done. But she sent us an email, Matt and I, an email today to send out a particular shout out to some of the partners she's worked with here. With Representative Brad Jones, who's not here, and Senator Bruce Tarr both, but also Mike Prisco, the Board of Selectmen, Michael Giliberto, who the town administrator, and Danielle McKnight, the town planner, as well as all the wonderful members of the Board of Selectmen here. You guys have been awesome. So we thank you, congratulate you, and we can't wait to see the water flowing into this site. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And I know you referenced it, but, and I'm sure I'm not telling you anything that you haven't already heard, but we had a fantastic partner in the project manager at DCAM and Mary Beth Clancy. She was committed to the partnership while fairly representing the state's interest throughout the town's purchase and then sale of the Berry property. And we certainly all wish her well in her retirement. The partnership that we've touched upon and the solutions that have been delivered didn't find their way to North Reading on their own. Unfortunately, Senator Tarr and Representative Jones are both tied up in the State House this afternoon, so they will not be able to join us in person while they are here in spirit.
I'll also cut the link to the program. And I say that as somebody who loves them both.
Well said, Governor. The comments I'll offer, though, is that the partnership we've touched upon and the solutions that have been delivered did not find their way to North Reading on their own. The town was fortunate to have legislative representation, not only holding leadership responsibilities in the House and the Senate, but who are dedicated to advocating on behalf of North Reading day in and day out. Be it the legislative process, finding common ground when there were differences of opinion between the town and the state, or pushing to ensure North Reading's needs were addressed. Representative Brad Jones kept his eye on the ball for over 3 years during the sale partnership process, and for more than 20 years, dating back to his time on the North Reading Board of Selectmen, to ensure that the redevelopment of the Berry property moved forward. He also pushed for almost 2 years to ensure appropriate resources were in place to support that redevelopment. Senator Tarr also, and I'm sure Selectman Prisco will speak to it during his comments, was instrumental in getting us linked up with the sale partnership program in the summer of 2014, which is ultimately what delivered this transaction. I know neither of them could be here. Again, they are here in spirit, but I'd like to just take a moment and offer a round of applause for them. The truth is that the Baker-Polito administration and Secretary Ash have been supportive of so many projects and planning efforts over the past 3 years. I'd like to introduce Board of Selectmen Chairman Michael Prisco to talk more about North Reading's local efforts and partnership with the state. Select.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here. You know, I really thought that Mary Beth had retired because of us. What we dragged her through for 2 years was amazing. But, you know, I'll say this now, the process that we went through and to be able to acquire the property, it took us about a year to work to get the property acquired. But after that, in 2 year period, less than 2 year period, with 4 days remaining actually in a 2 year period, we were able to go from acquiring the property from you and actually selling it to Pulte Homes, which you're going to get to see the results of that. But it couldn't have been done without Mary Beth and your staff, so thank you for that. And the main reason why I wanted to get up and say a few words tonight was because I didn't want to just talk about this DCAM project. I wanted to talk about what we embraced here in North Reading, our administration, our leadership, is partnership, and you touched upon it a little bit. We've truly embraced it. And one of the things that you're sitting in a building right now that we were able to build a partnership with the state to build a school that we so needed for many years. And it's a partnership we built with MSBA. And so we've embraced it, and we learned so much when we went through that process. That's how we were able to connect with this DCAM piece and what we've learned through these partnerships with MSBA. And what we've learned with the Community Compact is another perfect example. Early on in your administration, when you put that forward, I think we were one of the first 30 towns to embrace it. But you know what? For the first time in this community, we struggled with transportation for our seniors. We have no offer to get our seniors to and from their doctor's appointment or our disabled vets. Through this Community Compact, with that little bit of funding that we were able to get, we found a solution. And today, we have a ring and ride program. We take them from their homes to their appointments and back. And it's just one example of that partnership that we've embraced there. Same thing with the MEPC and DHCD. We're talking about this water infrastructure. Well, what we've been doing in advance of that is we've been trying to prepare what do we do? Once we have this water infrastructure, what do we do with it? How do we take our town forward so we have future revenues, so we can try to stabilize our tax base? Well, we've been able to do that with the support of the state, by the assistance and the funding that they've given us from MEPC and DHCD with our mass downtown initiative. We have a future now. Once we get this infrastructure in place, we can now move forward as a town. So we're so thankful for those partnerships as well. So many communities you hear talk about, we need sidewalks. We want to be able to move our people around town. We've never been able to do that. For the first time, again, in a partnership with the state, Mass DOT, we're going to start building sidewalks on Haverhill Street. It's starting, I believe, in June or July this coming year. And again, I just put these up as examples to show you, Governor, that we've learned that we are a true partner with the state. So many people say, oh, the state doesn't give us enough money. There's a lot of money out there. You've given us a lot of opportunities, and we've embraced it as a community, and we thank you for that. And the DCAM is just, it's wonderful, and the MassWorks is a cherry on top. So thank you for all these opportunities. We value it, and you're going to see our town continue to grow and hopefully help you meet some of your goals and your objectives that you have set forward for the state. So thank you.
Selectman Prisco mentioned the partnership that we've had with DCAM. That partnership, along with assistance from our commercial broker, Fran DeCoste of TR Advisors, ultimately resulted in our Economic Development Committee recommending Pulte Homes of New England as a developer for 104 Lowell Road on the former Berry property. Pulte represents a well-known quality housing developer, and they have brought their experience and professionalism to the table over the past 18 months. James McCabe is their principal, and Vice President Reed Blute has represented Pulte in the planning and coordinating efforts. We've had a tremendous working relationship, and there's no greater indication, this is my little joke, okay, everybody ready? There's no greater indication of that progress than what you see when you drive by 104 Lowell Road. I'm sure that Salisbury, Newburyport, Gloucester, and countless other cities and towns along the coast would love to have access to all that sand. You guys are kind, thank you.
It's all right. It's evaluation time. We'll make sure we do it.
You didn't hire me for my sense of humor. Reed Blute has joined us here this afternoon to talk more about Pulte's Martin's Landing project. Reed?
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me here tonight, this afternoon. I appreciate it very much. So I'd like to, first of all, speak to Governor Baker and Commissioner Gladstone, Selectman Prisco, and distinguished guests and ladies and gentlemen. Having worked with Pulte Homes here in New England and Eastern Massachusetts, which is our primary area of work for the past 20-plus years, our focus naturally is as a home builder. So in striving to provide for for our customers, citizens in the towns, and striving to provide for them what they really need, what they desire, what they demand in their housing, it's important for us to be able to find the best locations where folks want to live. And this was really critical part to our decision to select the site in North Reading, which we have renamed Martin's Landing as a development name, as a nod to Martin's Brook and Martin's Pond here in town, which we abut. We wanted to take that into consideration, but the location was really a primary consideration for us. Now, having worked with the town, the folks in town, with DCAM, and with folks in the Baker administration, we have found a true partnership from the public and the private sector. Our goal is to provide diverse housing for folks. And generally, the past few years, we've been in the 300 to 400 starts a year range. And that puts us as one of the larger home builders in Massachusetts. And indeed, our parent company, Pulte Group, is one of the largest home builders in the country. And what that does for us as a local building company is that allows us the financial resources, frankly, to do a purchase like this one. I've got some visuals here, and I just want to give you all an idea on what our vision is for the old J.T. Very property. So right here is a conceptual plan that shows the property, the perimeter, where our vision is to leave that in its natural state. We want to leave open space, a natural buffer. And then we have 450 homes that are planned and approved for the property, that went through the planning process here with the commission in town. And that process was handled in a very professional and efficient manner by the folks in Town Hall. And I want to commend them for that. We don't always have that type of experience. I wish we did. But just in general, we have 9 buildings, these brownish rectangles around a core central road system. Those 9 buildings, they reach 4 stories high with a parking garage underneath, which is something that we've found our active adult or over 55 buyer really demands. So we're able to provide that for them here. And the sand that Mr. Giliberto mentioned was very useful in allowing us to dig down deep enough to get the parking garage underneath without having to blast. So moving forward on our design here, one of the key criteria that we see as an initial benefit to the town is taking a piece of property that paid no taxes in the past to the town and bringing that onto the town rolls. Our projection are from an economic benefit to the town in the $2.5 to $3 million plus range. Once all the homes are built there, that will be a perpetual, every year, year after year, boost to the town for property taxes. And due to the fact that this particular parcel is age-restricted to folks 55 and better, there's a very small drain on public services. Virtually no new school kids are brought in by this type of housing, and a few dollars, perhaps 7% of every dollar, 7 cents out of the dollar, will go towards fire, police, ambulance, those types of services. But the other services that are customarily associated with new housing, such as road maintenance, things of that nature, those are borne by the condominium association. Part of our vision here is really to develop a community that folks are demanding, that they find desirable, that gives them the outside recreation that they desire. Our plan has a network of walking trails. It has a clubhouse. It's really based on the community of the area. We've designed in a clubhouse that will serve as the focus for the social life of the residents. And this is our timetable. As was mentioned earlier, we got going right away as soon as we could this December. And we have our first building that's under construction right now, and that is due to deliver at the end of this year. And After that, we have a construction schedule here that pans out to finish the road network, the roads and infrastructure, in approximately 2 years, and then to complete building out the rest of the 9 buildings over the following 4 or 5 years. So we're hoping to have a completed community here within this 5 to 6 year time frame. And since it is a home ownership community, we build buildings 1 or 2 at a time as a demand hits us, as folks want to purchase the homes and move in. So it's a little bit different from a rental community of apartments, whereby they would build all of the buildings first and then lease them out. So we have a slightly different business model there. This is just an overview of the construction in progress from a couple of weeks ago. And the buildings at the top of the screen here are the existing Edgewood apartments, which have been there for 6 or 7 years. And we will share an entrance road with them that will connect up to Route 62 on the top left of this picture. Ultimately, our entrance road will be here. There'll be a 4-way intersection. Our clubhouse will be located right here, sort of in the center of this picture, where currently we have a temporary sales office that will open a week from Saturday for anyone who would like to stop in. I invite you personally to do that and meet with our sales staff and learn more about it if you have an interest. Our first building that's under construction is shown here. And as I say, hopefully that'll be completed by the end of this year for occupancies. And then looking towards the south, that's the majority of the property that will be developed. I showed on that earlier concept sketch. This area back in here, of course, is the Martins Brook area, which is a wonderful natural resource for everyone in town. And certainly, we saw that as a big benefit when we looked at this property for our future residents to be able to enjoy the nature trails out here, the access to the wetlands, and just the flora and fauna out there. Oops. This is our vision for our type of home that I mentioned before, 4 stories over parking. We have essentially 1 and 2 bedroom homes that we've planned, and they range from approximately 1,000 square feet for the 1 bedroom up to 1,500 square feet for the 2 bedroom homes. We do allow folks to make choices inside, different options, countertop kitchens, and the parking garage in the basement, safe and secure, so no one has to deal with scraping snow and shovels and ice. So we find that's very desirable, again, for our folks in a New England climate. That pretty much
Try and sell a lot this week.
Yeah, the garages will go fast. But I want to, again, thank you all very much and invite you to visit our property as we get started. And we also have a sister property in Andover, and you're invited to come by there too. They're a little bit ahead of us, so their models are open now and staffed now. But again, I want to thank you all very much, and I appreciate the cooperation.
Thank you very much, Reed. There's a few recognitions I'd like to call out before we conclude the program. The first is I'd like to recognize the members of the North Reading Board of Selectmen, if I could ask you to stand, led by Chairman Michael Prisco, who heard from earlier, Selectman Steve O'Leary, Selectman Bob Messeri, Selectman Andrew Schultz, and Selectman Vice Chair Kate Manupelli. The term partnership has come up a lot during the discussion. There are some other partner agencies that I'd like to recognize that we've worked with as we chart the course for our water supply. Executive Director Fred Lasky and the MWRA, which has made its expertise available to us. Town Manager Bob LeLasher and the Town of Reading, who are represented today by Matt Cornelis, who's with us. Thank you very much for being with us, Matt. And Town Manager Andrew Flanagan in the Town of Andover. And a few recognitions I'll go through. I'll ask you to hold your applause to the end if you don't mind as I go through them. First, Fran DeCoste from TR Advisors, who was our broker. Mark Clark, our water superintendent and acting DPW director, maybe begrudgingly, who's here today. Mark's the steward of the resource that can be so easy for us to take granted. We thank him for the work that he does. Is Mike Sorgan here? Did Mike end up making it? Mike is our town engineer, who's also been assisting. He's retiring at the end of the month. Rob Williamson from our water and wastewater consulting firm, Wright Pierce. Rob, thanks very much for being here. We thank you for the expertise that you brought to the table. I also want to recognize Abby Hurlbert, who's the chair of the North Reading Finance Committee, Don Kelleher and Ben Gamer, who are also members of the Finance Committee, Bill Bellavance and Chris Hayden, who are on our Community Planning Commission. Thanks for joining us today. And Sean Delaney of our Secondary School Building Committee and former member of the Board of Selectmen. Sean, where are you? Thanks for joining us today. We also have two senior department heads who have joined us here today, Finance Director Liz Rourke and Chief of Police Michael Murphy. Thanks for being with us. So a round of applause for all those folks. Thank you. Finally, I want to recognize Danielle McKnight. Danielle, could you stand up, please? Danielle spent some or all of every day for over 3 years to make this project happen on behalf of the town. Was extremely dedicated in being a primary contact for DCAM, working on our MassWorks grant application, along with nearly every other application that Selectman Prisco went through over the past few years, with the exception of the secondary school building project and the little school roof project. She's been an integral part of the work that we've done here, and I just want to thank you for all of your efforts. Thanks so much. Finally, really finally, I'd like to extend my gratitude to Superintendent of Schools John Bernard for making this beautiful venue available to us. Superintendent Bernard unfortunately had another commitment this afternoon, but he does send his greetings. Governor, again, thank you for this award and for joining us today. Thank you all for coming this afternoon. I'd ask the folks at the front here to come together for a brief photographic opportunity in front of the slide here. And again, thank you for being here.